Alrighty, good evening or good morning, guys, depending on your time of day or night. Been out here in the shop all evening. At least for me, anyways, it's been all evening. So we're going to be doing some work here on this 148, just finishing up the last little tidbits of it. So that's the reason why we're out here either so late or so early, depending on your take. I've got about another 3 hours before I call it a night. So, but John, we got you done, buddy. I've been out here twice tonight. The first time for about 3 hours, and then went in, ate, took a quick little nap, and got back on yours. I finally figured out what was going on as far as with the clarifier mod. As far as that goes, that was actually kind of interesting. I'll get into that, and then we're gonna go and finish up the last little tidbits, and I'll show you guys what this thing's doing and what we've got going on. But let's see here. You can get them dug out of here. Anyways, we had a couple of resistors that had went, and it's kind of unusual, especially out of this one, because this is the one of the newer model 148s as far as before they discontinued making the the real article. But anyways, you had two resistors that were way too far out of specifications, and that's what was actually giving me the issues. I've been working on these off and on for nearly 27 years on 148s, and this is the first time that I've ever had that issue. Now, I would have expected it if it was one from the 70s or real early 80s, but this is from mid to late 90s. You also had one little disc capacitor. It's not necessarily bad, but it was right there on the end of the spectrum of what the capacitance needed to be. So I went ahead and replaced it as well. So we got that all squared away. One of the other things that I know we didn't talk about, but you just told me to do whatever to it, basically as if it was mine. So we went in there and replaced all your little diodes like this, the little glass ones. So those are all taken care of. I don't know why that's doing that. Let's see. Now I think that'll do it, right? Live chat. I think that's what I want. We'll find out here. But let me see what we got going on here. So I had a message pop in real quick. Okay. Wow, I've got all kinds of messages I didn't even know about. Give me just a second here. All right. take care of the rest of them later. Anyhow, let's get that out of the way. I'm going to add a little more extra light to the subject. All right. So let's get that out of the way. Screwdriver out here. So this thing actually tuned up quite nicely. Now, John, I know you're a big one for sideband. So although I could have gotten just a little bit more PEP on the AM side of this, I decided not to. And the reason why is because whenever I went back and checked the sideband, you lost about about 4 bird watts on sideband. So I put it back, retuned it. So this is tuned primarily for your sideband. Although it's going to work very, very well for AM. You're not going to notice another 2 or 3 watts peak on AM as you will on sideband. So and since this is a low powered radio instead of like the high powered radios where you can adjust it up and down and all that other good stuff, I just decided to go ahead and go with go with the the sideband portion of it. So that's what we did. All right. Because I don't want to be wearing this stuff all night, or the rest of the evening anyways, guys. All right, I'm going to put on some rubber gloves for what I am about to do. So what I'm going to do is just gently rock these funnels forward just a little bit. And I don't know, I kind of have a feeling because of the fact that I just broke the original whatever you call it on the screws, Loctite. Since I broke the Loctite on it, I'm going to say that this is probably all original as far as back here on the finals. So pull your ceramics out, which is awesome because these actually have the big ones like I like to use. So I found that quite interesting. Just a cleaner here. Helps if you grab the right screwdriver. This is nothing new, guys, as far as seeing me do this. And now I don't take quite the care unless I'm doing more or less what I call a restoration. And this is kind of in that same ballpark as a restoration, if you will. So I don't get quite as picky. I like neatness, but I know this gentleman has been waiting an additional 3 months because of where I've been sick and everything. And it's one of those that I really wanted to figure out why this was doing what it was doing. So now what I'm using to actually clean these with out of the container next to me. I'm actually using naphtha, which is a great, it's kind of like, it's a type of paint thinner basically, but it does a really good job as far as cleaning off some of the old stuff. Alcohol works as well. Sometimes I think the alcohol gets a little aggressive, especially whenever you're dealing with older ceramics and stuff. So the naphtha is actually just a little less abrasive or evasive, mainly because of the fact that I just want to make sure that I can preserve these. I've got brand new ones, but I think the older ones like this are actually a little bit better quality. So there wasn't much. There was enough to sit there and say, yeah, they attempted to put some put some thermal compound on it, but I want to go ahead and redo that. That was something that you and I had spoke with about. So just a nice even little layer. Might be enough, but I don't think so. Just about at the end of that tube. Another thing that was really nice about this particular 148, and I double checked, and I'm actually surprised this one doesn't have any of that acidic glue. It was always a problem. So that was actually kind of nice that I didn't have to fight with that for a change. So we got one installed. Yeah, all you got to do is look at this stuff as thermal compound, and it gets everywhere. Try to get some of this excess off. I know it's more for looks than anything. It doesn't hurt anything leaving it right where it's at. You can still see the little particulates right there on the edges, which that's good. That means we don't have an overabundance, but we got just enough. And we got a little squeeze out. Now I've already done the regulator, which the regulator over here, we've upgraded it from the little 5 amp. I replaced it with a D1148, which is considerably heavier duty. Another good replacement. Back in the day, I used to use an NTE 36. To actually replace those. going to give me fits. That's what I thought. Got to move enough to where I can get they put crap over the daggone thing, and I don't know. I'll get it out. It's just going to fight me a little bit. New hardware we can use on this, so not too worried about that little plastic screw at the moment. Morning to whoever we got out there watching. Usually don't do them this late or this early in the morning, depending on your day, but like I said, I'm right there at the end of finishing up. That's what our goal is tonight anyways, is to finish up this one, or we call it an evening. Turn my heater down just a couple of degrees. So we don't have to fight it here in a minute. Let's go ahead and get a new nylon screw. There we go. Pull this little 8-volt regulator gingerly away from the chassis for just a moment. Just turn around here where you guys can kind of see. My hands and everything's in the way, and fortunately I don't know a way around that. Well, that works equally as well. See if we can get you guys into the radio just a little bit more. And a little heat sink that they had on there as far as the heat sink compound. I'm really surprised because it's just so very, very little of it. One thing I will say though is this thing has had very, very little runtime on it. Right now I'm just hooking in behind the transistor and pulling it forward, or regulator rather. Here we go. Didn't know if that was an important text message or not. So. All right. Just using a different screwdriver. Okay. Now the only other thing that's left is the audio chip. We'll do that next here in just a second. I'm gonna clean up the excess here. replace that too. Yeah, there's more on this than there is anything else that I've seen so far. Okay, I don't have to worry about any contaminants there. Just remove the rest of the excess shmoo for looks. Like I said, it doesn't hurt to leave it. But it does make for things to look a little bit nicer. Okay. We're through with the mess. Let me clean up my tools here real quick, which won't take but a second. Set the radio off the bench, because I don't want to get this stuff all over customer's radio. This is the first time I've ever got this much all over everything except for the radio. There we go. Okay, so bending those out of the way just a little bit. Not that it would cause a problem in the next 100 years, but I have seen stranger things happen. I just don't like a ground that close to the positive input. Okay. Sorry, the camera's right in my elbow, so you'll just have to bear with me, guys. You know, I'm still kind of getting used to, the camera and how it's being set up, and kind of halfway the new location. This way I get in a little bit deeper where you guys can hopefully see a little bit better and a little bit more on what we're doing here on the workbench. One of the best features about this camera, eventually, once I figure out how to get it programmed, I've got a Stream Deck over here that I am going to try to set up at least one or two more cameras. Leastwise, that's my goal. So then I can either run picture-in-picture, I think is what they call it, or split screen, or where I can switch between them. This camera's kind of nice because I can kind of zoom in. That way you guys can kind of see a little bit more on what we got going on. Like I said, we went ahead and installed some new thermal grease behind each one of the output transistors. Like I said, the regulator was already done before I got online here, but still needed to do the finals, the 8-volt regulator that sits on the side, and the audio chip. So that's all taken care of. The last piece literally just got soldered in, as you just seen. All right, so what we've done, I'll just kind of walk it around here for John. All right, big guy. So we did the receive mods, which is something that I know you wanted taken care of. I went ahead and replaced a couple of. I know one of these was like a 10-volt, and the other one I think was a 16. I went ahead and replaced this on the 8-volt regulator. It's kind of weak spot in the 148s as far as the 10-volt caps, and they just don't seem to fare very well. So since everything was still in a good functioning order or reasonably functioning order, um, I went ahead and replaced those, which that's another one of those that we talked about. Um, Also, the same thing here around the audio chip. There are 6 and 10 volt capacitors. And again, it's kind of a weak point in the radio itself. So, all those have been replaced along with the ones for the receive upgrade that we did. Going along with the receive upgrade, we also went ahead and replaced the Scotty diodes as far as within the receiver itself, and did the alignment. So the radio will actually drift just a fraction, which is common, until it warms up. Now it's set in here for a good hour before I actually did the alignment. Once I got everything all squared away and was happy with the way it was acting and working. Now, granted, that is with the with the tins off. When the tins are on, um, generally I try to set these about 1 kc high, because whenever they go ahead and settle in, they usually fall down just a little bit, and that leads me to the next portion of this. So because of the way these are designed, there's got to be another hidden piece fragment. I don't know where it came from. Like I said, anytime I use that thermal or thermal compound, that stuff shows up for days when you least expect it. So, well, anyways, so one of the things that we did was, since I had to get in here, I had to melt it all out anyways. So I put you some fresh wax back over in your PLL section here, or CPO. I had to replace these 2 resistors here in order to go ahead and fix the little glitch that it had. Now that glitch followed it when you started going up and down in the channel band as well, which that I wasn't aware of until I actually got it partially stabilized as far as when we did the clarifier mod. While trying to do the clarifier mod, that actually pointed out another small issue that it had. So went ahead and replaced everything in the section here that needed to be replaced, and realigned it, and then I put some fresh sealing wax. Now the wax, there's good and bad in that. I know some guys, they'll melt it all out and they never will put it back. But in this section here, it's also designed to, believe it or not, help hold heat to a certain degree. It may only be like 1 degree, but it goes ahead and actually keeps it, once it warms up, even though it's not hot enough to melt, it actually helps hold a certain amount of heat, which in this case is good because it actually stabilizes the radio. So anytime you see that in there, now granted, it does cause, especially in the Galaxies, you'll have a lot of cold solder joints for whatever reason, and it's usually in the PLL and the CPO section. So the best thing to do is melt it out, go ahead and do the repairs, make sure everything's going and functioning properly, and then actually put it back. So that's what we did here. All right, so we did that, and there is another small, hoping this is small enough. Yep. One more little fragment of that heatsink compound. Not that that would cause any problems, but as soon as it pops out, it's going to fall down on here, and I'm going to smear it everywhere. I've still got this stuff on me. I was wearing gloves, guys. All right. Let's start with the receive section, and then we'll move on to all the other goodies. Oh, come on now. Adapters are great and they're bad all at the same time. But where I've got so much stuff that runs on BNC cables, and this is just for the receive, for the alignment and everything. So this cable actually just hooks right up, and I've got it set up on a BNC connector. So that's the reason why I use that adapter. Oh, excuse me, to go over to a PL259. How in the world? There we go. Same thing with the mics. I would not use one of these adapters in or on anything that I was using on an everyday basis, by no means. The only way I would actually do that is just for what I'm doing here, test purposes. So, put that out of the way. Turn the power on. Okay. And we've got our external speaker hooked up. That's at 0.2, yeah, 0.2 on the receive, 0.1. Hold the microphone down here to the speaker where you guys hopefully can hear that. That's as low as this signal generator will actually produce as far as that goes. It's the lowest setting. There's a 2. It's on AM. Let's go over here to the lower sideband. We're going back for 1 microvolt. That's at 100, and we're still receiving. About there is where you're going to start getting kind of a clean reading. The only thing that affects the sideband is when you get the noise blanker and the A&L on together. We'll go back over to AM. Okay. Turn that tone down on the front. It's the only thing left to do. Well, I've got this going on. Let's see. Alright. So there is 100 microvolt tone. Just barely crack it so you guys can hear that. I don't remember if I set the meter for the sideband, so this is on AM. It's just a hair below on the 9, but I'm going to leave it there because I know some of these guys that put on AM, man, they're gangbusters. They bend the living snot out of a meter. All right. me, guys. It's crazy. I checked everything. I'm still finding. I don't even know where I'm getting it at. That heat sink compound. All right. Let's go over to the lower side band. And one to bar. All right. That out of the way. Trying to get the glare off of the slugs so you guys can see the slugs as well. Let's see here. There we go. I forgot this has got a setting on the camera itself for that. Okay. So what we've got is our 25 watt slug in 1x position for our PEP, 10 watt slug in RMS going back to the 5,000 watt bird dode. So let's hook up the radio here. Okay. Just back over. All right. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so right now we got it at a 1 watt dead key. Mic gain fully open. Hello, radio, audio. Audio. So about 23 watts on the PEP, which is pretty good. And about 7 bird. Audio, audio. So real good, real good. All right, John, so we got you variable in here. And your variable will take you all the way down to 0. So you'll have to bring it up just a little off of all the way down. Until you start getting your carrier. You're going to be able to go from 0. You watch the middle scale here. Right up 10 watts. So I don't recommend running that high. Let's see what. about a half watt. Audio, audio. So you're still doing the same at a half as you are 1. Go up here at 3. Audio, audio. So you're still doing great all the way around. All right, so let's take it back down to 1 watt. All right, so I don't think we're going to get any closer as far as on frequency. All right, so you've got about 5 kilohertz plus or minus. Okay. That is your range. Move this back up to center. I love this frequency counter and I hate it at the same time because it takes it a moment for it to catch up. All right, so dead nuts back on frequency. Let's turn down here a little bit more. It's the right way here. Zoom out a little bit. Now your indicator is about the thickness of that cut off of center. It's about as close to perfect as I could get it. Now you're going to be able to move it obviously up to that if you want. AM, they'll never know a difference, because you're talking fractions. So one of the other things I wanted to show you, your variable power is located here on your SWR calibration. Now, one of the neat things too, let's go over here to calibrate. Move it over to the caret. Go to SWR. And it comes up about a half the thickness of that, which there again, we're on the dummy load, so you're not going to see any standing wave there. Hello, 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 audio. So this still works for your SWR meter. I don't know how accurate that's actually going to be, but it's just nice to know that the functions actually still work together. So, just a simple little change. That takes it up to basically about 3 watt carrier in order for you to go ahead and set the SWR with the variable. But like I said, it just gives you a nice, easy way to go as far as for that. Channels. Okay, so your channels are on your high-low, since we did this old school. The clarifier is somewhat old school, but it's not. Usually they're a quarter turn one way or the other when you do the clarifier mod, and you're able to slide almost a half, almost a channel and a half, and all this other crap. And Yeah, well, you can slide essentially a full channel, but it's just about 4 kcs each direction. So, you said you wanted kind of a mild, mild clarifier, which actually worked out really well for this. Like I said, after I figured out what was going on with the PLL circuit, I was chasing a gopher down the wrong hole whenever I was actually looking for the problem. Um, it's just so happened that I got enough of it close enough that it led me in the right direction to go ahead and figure out what was going on, so that we could go ahead and get you taken care of. So um, put that up on high. We'll move the camera up. Perfect reason why I need that Stream Deck finished up. I think 805, I think, is as low as these go. Oh, 815. So 815 is the lowest channel you've got. So you've got a few of the lowers. Both switches up, and we're still on channel 15. It starts you out at 45, and you'll go from 45 through 60. With the high-low switch down, start out at channel 77. So now what's also nice, if you enjoy listening to it, which I have rarely ever heard anything on there, it will take you up to 28045. Hello, 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 audio. So now, bear in mind, since we are on essentially 28045, we're going to go down here and we're going to look at your power real quick again. Hello, audio. So about 22 watts. So you only lost about 1 watt peak. Now this is using quote unquote a ideal antenna. So if your antenna has 0 standing wave like a dummy load, this actually worked out very, very well as far as for the widebanding. So hello, 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 audio. So kind of wanted to show you that. Let's see here. Nope, I think it's this way. Go back to channel 15, which is where your start of the lower channels are. At 815. Hello, audio. 22. Audio, audio. And about 6.5. So you did lose about a half watt RMS all the way down on your channels. Figuring the way these radios were designed for back in the day, that's actually really good. Like I said, I could get more power out of these radios, but where this does have the original Mitsubishi, I have yet to have found anything that truly will take the place of them. There's a couple of replacements that are fair. I'm not even going to say they're adequate, but they're fair. They just are not the same as the original Mitsubishis. And the last time I looked those up 2 years ago, I think RF Parts wanted $26 a piece for them. So they're just not, they're just not practical as far as on the, I'll think here in a minute. They're just not practical as far as on the purchasing of them. But like I said, I just wanted to go through here with you, show you where everything's at. And the only thing left we got to do is put the tins on the radio. I'll probably go ahead and stick those on there and then try to give you a call tomorrow evening whenever I get up. But other than that, big guy, you are done. Like I said, I really appreciate your patience. Like I said, I've been sick, just haven't felt like talking to anybody. Just, you know, uh, yesterday I got some done out here, but not like I wanted to. I took part of a day and actually just rested. I haven't actually had a day off in a month in order to just rest. And that was something that I really desperately needed. Work has been quite interesting. We've had one person out for several months. We've got one person that they've been out half the year already. And this is all during the same time. And then, we've got one guy that, he's rough around the edges. He's still green, but, he does do a pretty good job. He has been quite a bit of help, but even at that, there's, he still has a lot to learn yet, in this field. And, the other seasoned guy that's been in maintenance that does primarily the mechanical repairs, he has been busy as all get out, the same as I have. So it's been quite an ordeal. Like I said, for the last couple months, I've drugged myself in there, drugged myself back, and slept, 10, 12 hours a day, just trying to get myself back into the groove of things and get back to where I can't feel like actually doing anything. The workbench is still somewhat of a mess on the other side, but I did make some headway on it yesterday and a little bit today, as far as getting part of it cleaned off and back to a normal operating level. But John, hopefully you will enjoy this. Like I said, we also replaced your meter light, put you a nice crisp LED in there, so it'll make life a lot easier to see. But with that, guys, I'm going to call it an evening here on the web, and put the tins on this and go from there. All right, guys, take care. I appreciate you. See you on the next live feed.